put that into context, that's higher than legacy banking giants such as NatWest and Barclays. Now, it's based its calculation on a deal to allow its staff to sell their shares to new investors. Revolut, which began as a consumer money transfer service, now also has banking licenses, both in the EU and the UK, and it's planning to sell mortgages. Well, for more on this, I'm joined by the investment analyst and fintech expert, Rupak Ghosh. Thanks very much for joining us today, Rupak. So, Revolut, undoubtedly a British fintech success story, but why would investors think it's worth more than a NatWest or a Barclays?
Well, I think it just goes back to growth. You know, those legacy banks, traditional banks are relatively mature. They've had some growth in the last 12, 18 months because of rates going up, but underlying it, they're not really growing their customer base. Revolut is growing very fast. It's one of the fastest growing fintechs in the world. Last year, it grew revenues at 80%. Some of that was rate rises, but underlying, excluding rate rises, it had 50% growth last year. This year, it's growing at 80%. It's acquired 45 to 50 million customers in dozens of countries. There's a cost to acquire those customers. The vision of the founders is really to create a super app. Super apps haven't really been created in banking outside of China and Asia, really. But that's really the vision, is to cross-sell lots of products to these 45 to 50 million customers. Remember, a lot of these customers are young. I mean, I've got a Revolut. I'm not at the young end of that spectrum, but I've got a Revolut card that I use for foreign exchange, but I don't use it for much else. So the question is, as you get older, you use it for more and more things, and there are cross-selling opportunities. They already use it for things like stocks and crypto and things that legacy banks are not used for. But Nick has a wide vision that includes things like advertising.
Yeah.
Amazon.com makes a lot of money from advertising. So it's really cross-selling opportunities. And on the other side of the P&L is really the cost structure. Revolut have built a scalable tech stack, or they argue they have, without legacy IT infrastructure. Sure. Clearly, there's a question mark there with compliance costs and so forth going forward, but that's the vision.
Okay. So in terms of becoming that super app, becoming that solution to all of life's financial challenges, they've got a banking license now, both in the UK and the EU. What are their plans about? What are they going to do with them?
Well, the key thing with a banking license, remember they've had one in the EU for a while, is really lending. You can't really do lending properly without a banking license. So the Bank of England, having a banking license in the UK was very important to do lending in the UK. The Bank of England has a lot of credibility globally, to the extent to which they want to expand to the US, which is a highly competitive market, by the way, and it's not a slam dunk. The question is really, can they get into the lending game? Lending is a completely different beast, by the way. It's easy to lend money. It's hard to get money back from people. But that's the vision. And mechanically, there's also a benefit from having a Bank of England license. So we've got this phenomenon in the UK where if you're a bank and you park money with the Bank of England, you get the overnight rate, essentially. And the legacy banks make a lot of money from that. And some of the challenger banks, the Monzos, the Starlings, and so forth, make money from that. And obviously, Revolut weren't. So there's a mechanical uplift from being a licensed UK bank where they're able to park money with the Bank of England. And then the long-term dream is obviously lending.
Okay. Rupak Ghosh, thank you very much for joining us with those thoughts on the future of fintech and Revolut today.